to tell people that when I graduated high school, I never had a date. I could always get permission to come here. Couldn't get permission to date, but I could always get permission to come here. But this church is where we did everything. We did our sleepovers, our Easter egg hunts, our recitals. It is where we learned that we were important also in the eyes of the Creator. When the world told us we couldn't, the church said we could. And when the world called us ugly and unprepared, the church said, no, that's not it at all. You can do all things. So this was a very wonderful environment in the sense that it allowed us to grow and develop and evolve into the adults that we eventually became.
And Marion, you were at Reverend Shuttlesworth's church, which he had just recently left at the time. Can you briefly describe the events that occurred and your experience in your church?
Being a part of Bethel Baptist Church was just home. Like Carolyn said, everything we did was at church. My parents married at Bethel, my grandfather was at Bethel, so everything and everybody we knew was right around Bethel Church. But when Reverend Shuttlesworth came, we had a newness at Bethel Church because he saw things differently from what we had been taught. And his thing for us was, you can be anything, you can do anything that you want to do. Your color has nothing to do with your integrity. You should walking back and forth. So he brought it to our attention that right past Phillips High School, going to Parker, every black person in the city of Birmingham and around attended Parker. So when they have reunions for Parker, of course, it's a bit to do. But he tried getting his children into Parker High School, and that did not work. They were beat. Mrs. Shuttlesworth was stabbed, and she really, so indeed we finished and got our coats on and started out of the basement of the church and got middle ways. We heard absolutely nothing. The lights went out, the glass came in, debris was falling over us, and all my grandfather could say was, get down, get down. And as children, we crawled out on glass. So when I say I have the scars, I would carry these to my grave. Didn't realize that I had been cut because we were trying just so hard to get to the door of the basement to get out. And got to the door, and who was there at the door but Bull Connor? Right at the door of the church. And you know, it didn't take us an hour to crawl out of the church. But he was at the door, and my parents heard the bomb. We'd had so many bombs at Bethel by that time until whenever one went off, everybody said it's at the church. So my father just didn't even get in the car. He ran to the church. We lived about 4 blocks away. And came and he says, my child is in there. I want to get her out. And they said no. Bill Connor said, no, you cannot go in there. These wires are hanging and they got to stay in there. My dad said, no, she's coming out. And my grandfather said, we're coming out here. So as children, all we saw was just dust, smoke flying in the air, and glass. One of the little girls there had glass in her eye, could not close it because it was just sticking in her eye. But my father, being a very tall man of stature, lifted all of us out of the basement of the church. And Bull Connor and all the policemen were around, and it was just amazing to me that they got there so quick. But needless to say, as a child, we didn't think that. But my grandfather did tell me, he said, I'm kind of glad that you all played with those suds. Because had you not, we would have been right at the bomb, because it was right at the base of the door. So I know when I tell you that there is no fear, I feel like God brought me through that. He will bring me through so many other things. So I give a lot of credit to Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth because he was so fearless. And to do what he did and really be treated as he was treated. And sometimes ignored even in this city. Because a lot of people say, well, who's Fred Shuttlesworth? So then you have to say it began at Bethel. It really started at Bethel. And I like to thank you all for wanting to hear the story of Bethel. And we'll get a chance to pass by and see Bethel.
We had talked about the aftermath of the bombing. When did